Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the first episode of the Ddon.Life show. You've heard the podcast, you've heard the Ddon.Life podcast, but now it's time. It's come. I've successfully done the podcast every day. Not every day. Many days I actually didn't do it, but I did it a lot. Okay? And it's time to step it up because now we have, thank God, we have Steven. Steven, thank you. And thank God we have Ken, a.k.a. Ken Zen, a.k.a. Ken Hannigan. A lot of you may know him. What did I want to talk about today? I don't know. That's the thing. That's the problem. But that's where, if you've heard the podcast, you've heard me talk about talking when I have nothing to say. I think it's actually a very good skill to have. I learned it from Mark Massa. Mark Massa, I worked for Mark Massa for about 2 years. You could say I worked with him, but really I was working for him. And he taught me the art of talking when you have nothing to say. Because many times in conversation, you get into these things where it's dead space. You're trying to make small talk. Small talk's very hard, especially for me. I have all kinds of social anxiety, and I'm not good at small talk. I hate small talk. In fact, I hate small talk. I hate asking people what they do for a living. I hate asking them, what are you doing next weekend? Little things that I don't care about. I don't care what the answer is, but for some reason I have this thing where I'm here with this person and I have to make conversation with them, and that's small talk. I like the other deep talk and medium talk, and but here my point is that Mark Massa has the skill. He has the skill to talk when he has nothing to say. He keeps the conversation going. So when you're in these awkward situations, you have this guy who can ramble on and on and on. And he's not concerned at all about is he making good small talk or not. He just is. He's just blabbling. It's not even small talk. It's just he's got this pre-recorded script in his head that he lets out. He just talks and talks. He can talk about anything. He talks about shows. One of those things that he does, he talks about TV shows that he likes. Shows that we've never seen. Shows that are on in the UK. And he loves these episodes from the 80s, from the 70s. One of his favorite shows was called The New Statesman. And some of you may have seen it, The New Statesman. It's a really funny show. There's been many times where I go to his studio and he says, sit down. I'm like, oh, God. And I end up sitting there watching an hour of a show because he wanted me to watch this show. And it is a funny show, but it's funny when I'm watching the show. But then when he gets into my car and we're going to go to the job site, he tries to walk me through the show. He tells me what happened in the show, like a full 30-minute show. He explains what happens, and I can never follow him. I can never visualize what he's saying because really what he's doing is talking when he has nothing to say. And that's kind of what I'm doing, that's what we're practicing right now as for this being the pilot episode of the show. But I do have a lot to say in reality. I have many things that I want to say. There's many topics. Topics that I've breached on the podcast before. We've talked about the Wim Hof method. We've talked about flying cars. If you've heard my podcast, you know how I feel about traffic. You know how I feel about lines in general. You know how I feel about social interactions that could be much more efficient. As an appraiser, I sit in traffic a lot. And the busier you are, the more you sit in traffic. You're going all over the metro area. You're driving all over. And sometimes you have to do that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So basically from like 2:30 until 6:30, you do not want to be in the metro area driving around. That is if you're driving around all day, because at that point you're sick of driving. I bitch about traffic to some people, and it's not a big deal. Like, I'd say, no, I don't mind, because I'm patient. And that kind of, I think it's sort of like a backhand, because when you're in traffic all day and then you sit in traffic, it's much more irritating than motherfucking sitting at home all day and then you have to go sit in traffic once a week. Obviously, it's not as bad. But I don't think I'm alone. I think many of the people that I'm on the road with day in and day out, stuck in traffic, I think they're tired of it. But the problem with them is they aren't willing to do anything about it. And I'm willing to try to end this problem. I think it's an epidemic. I think many people die because of human-caused error. Traffic is just one of the symptoms of the wheel. We're using this Stone Age technology, the wheel, and it's 2017. We were using the wheel. I was watching the show Borgia, and they have horse-drawn carts, and it's a fucking cart. It's a wagon, and they're sitting in it, and what's it on? It's on wheels. And this show takes place like 600 years ago. And now you can look up at pretty much any time of the day and you see things flying around. You see these giant buses flying around the air. And yet we're still stuck, dead stop in the heat, 90 degrees, humid. Literally, my back is wet. My back is sticking to the back of the seat. My sticking. And it's a very unpleasant thing. You hit the gas, you accelerate, you hit the brake, you fucking brake, you know? You make one wrong move, you look over and the guy, he's fucking flicking you out. He's yelling at you. He's angry at you because you just are trying to get where you're going. But you have all these people that just had a bad day. They've got all their own fucked up shit happening in their life. And then they get into their car and they have no power in their life really, except when they get in their car. And they have this little thing called the horn that they've had this shitty day. It's all their fault in reality. They don't want to take responsibility for their shitty life, but they have this little amount of power where one person cuts them off because that person is just trying to get to point B. You know, they don't want to be in traffic. They're doing the best they can. We all have different standards of what a good driver is. You know, they teach you what a good driver is, but that's not really a good driver. A good driver is an aggressive driver, a driver that cuts in, that doesn't stop in the middle of the freeway and wait for an opening to get over to the next lane. That's not a good driver. That's a cautious driver. That's a very dangerous driver. A good driver cuts in when they see the opening. They don't think about it. They just do it. And if you go to the James Primus 3 Instagram today, it's a story. It's an Instagram story, so it's going to go away. But you can see an example of how to do it properly because I show you. But anyways, we have all kinds of human-caused error on the road. And this is just one thing I'm not going to get in depth about flying cars today. But just know that I have a lot to say about this. And Steve, Ken, myself, we have a plan. We have a plan to end this error, this epidemic. In reality, we're going to end apathy, okay? Because that's what traffic causes. It makes us hate our brothers and sisters because you're sitting in traffic, they cut you off, or they just do one little thing you don't like, and you use that little amount of power you have in your life, and you fucking hit the horn, and what happened? You just sent all your negative energy onto the universe. You think that's going to come back on you positively? No. It's going to come back at you negatively. And it's in the process, you're going to pass your negative energy off on me and everyone else. And I think we can do a lot better. I think it's unacceptable. I think the wheel is not what we should be fucking with in 2017. We have propellers and magnets and shit like that. We can do a lot better than the wheel. Batteries, so these solar, and that's not even talking about free energy. Yeah, you've heard me talk about free energy before, and I think it's real. You know, based on all these people that you see them on the news. You go to YouTube and you watch these videos of people that are inventors all over the world. Like they're splitting they're splitting water molecules with magnets, and because they tune the shit to the right frequency, and it separates the hydrogen from the oxygen, and then the engine, it burns the hydrogen. And basically it's all about, it's free energy, okay? It's the 0 point, it's coming from the quantum vacuum, and it's like fucking electrons, the electrons moving around the atom. No, the nucleus. And what is making that move? What is making that electron move? Okay? So you have to think about that. And that is the quantum field. And I'm not saying I know what this shit is. I'm just saying that what I know is that I can go on YouTube and I can watch these old news clips from all over the world. Mostly it's like local news stations that they interview an inventor, basically, and they'll have the reporter go to his garage lab. In his garage, he's got a lab, and he builds an engine that's like run on power, or it's just a free energy device, and you're tapping into the 0 point. You're tapping into the quantum vacuum, and it's the same power that makes the electrons go around the nucleus, and you tap into that. It's all about vibrations and frequencies and shit like that, and they figure it out, and they've figured it out. Look up the Joel cell on YouTube. Joel, Joel, the Joel cell. That's just one thing. Then there's, what's the other guy's name? Fuck, I forget his name. Anyways, we'll find it. Okay. and you just go to these YouTube videos and you see them, and then you find out that the guy fucking died and he got killed, or his lab got burnt and blown up, and it happens like clockwork. First you see a YouTube video where they were on the news, it's the innovation. Like one time there was an episode of Shark Tank. And the guy had a free energy device, and he went, and like the guys on Shark Tank were blown away. And then I don't know what happened to that guy, but the point is that you see these YouTube videos where these inventors created this device, and then you hear like this little news clip that the guy ended up dying, or it got stuck in patent court, or whatever. But so my point, ladies and gentlemen, is that flying cars, it probably should have happened a long time ago. I do CE5. I've talked about it before, where you go out into a field and you play tones. And these tones, they're the crop circle tones, and they recorded them after a crop circle was created in the UK, I think. They created a crop circle. Some entity created a crop circle, and this crop circle chaser, he chases crop circle. He gets leads on crop circles, and then he flies out and he checks them out. And there was like some radioactive material, some weird radioactive material in the crop circle, and it was making a noise, and he recorded it. And now in the CE5 protocols, we use those crop circle tones during meditation. You meditate, you call them, basically. CE5 stands for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And you've seen the movie Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. But that's where the extraterrestrials make contact with humans. Okay? But that wasn't voluntary. Okay? CE5 is about you call them. You put your signal out, and then they respond. So they call it human-initiated contact. And I've done it. And you can go back on this YouTube channel and watch my episode, listen to my episode, my first CE5 solo experience. And I'll get into that whole thing later, but right now, my point is that the technology could be there. I don't know. I don't know if it's fucking there or not. But what we do know is that we have batteries. We have batteries, and they're like talking about these new batteries that can go forever, basically. Uh, Not forever, but they can go long enough to get me from Northeast Minneapolis to Blaine. All right, and that's all I'm looking for. I'm just trying to get to Blaine. I don't need to go. If I want to go across the country, I can take a plane, but I don't. I just want to get out of the metro traffic. So like when I'm sitting in traffic and I'm stuck, it's dead stop. I'm just thinking, God, how fucking nice would it be if some wings, I hit a button, some wings come out of my car, and I just fly up and go over all these people. And it's just like, I don't see why it can't happen, you know?